10. 0 to 9 is 10. Now you need to make that distinction because you have to count 0. 10 digits. So, therefore, this problem would be 10 to the 8th power. Somebody give me that for me. And now you should know how to raise something to the caret symbol. Please don't call it a house top. Whoever taught you to call it a house top should be beaten with the calculator. All right? There's a name for everything in mathematics, and a house top is not the name of that. It's called a caret symbol. Okay? Let's go ahead and fix that now. I don't want you to show your ignorance in a math class in the future. All right? How many license plates? Somebody give me that number.
100 million.
100 million. There you go. See, I haven't got my tones right. My phone's not right. I'll say it aggravates you. It aggravates the crap out of me. I've been trying to get my tones right and all that. And it's I'll show you. So you might have a problem or two in the homework about a license plate or an alarm system where you type in 4 digits from 0 to 9. So that'd be 10 to the 4th. Okay? All right. So let's go back to our factorial. There's 2 types of problems we're going to be working with in this section. Combinations and permutations. No sneezing in class. Combinations in your Excel spreadsheet is called combin. Okay? I can't remember, I think it's permute. I think. In the Excel spreadsheet. I'm not sure, we'll check it in just a few minutes. Now, why am I telling you the Excel spreadsheet? Because these 2 formulas, they're not too bad, but they can be aggravating on the calculator. If you do them by hand, they're pretty simple. But if you do them by the calculator, you got to use the store button and you got to save as the numerator, unless you use 15 sets of parentheses. And if you like doing that, knock yourself out. But that's a pain sometimes, figuring out how many parentheses you have to have in order to work these problems. In other words, chances are you're going to use the combinations in the calculator or the Excel spreadsheet. In the calculator, it's math, probability. Somebody give me a number. It's N, this is, hold on, NCR. What is it?
3.
Number 3. Okay? And permutation, what number is it? 2. M, P, and number 2. Now, I'm not telling you not to do it by hand because I'm going to show you how to do it by hand the easy way. I'm not going to show you how to do it by hand on your calculator because that's just a pain. All right? I'll show you how to use the Excel spreadsheet. I'll show you how to utilize the calculator's feature on probability, and I'll show you how to do it by hand. But I'm not going to show you how to do it with... N is always your biggest number. I've told you that since the first day of class. All right? So if I give you, a question and I give you 2 numbers, one is 30 and the other one is 5, you know that N is 30 and R is 5 because N is always your biggest number. And then you just type it in. Now, that's not all you need to know. Combinations is no order. Then that means permutations mean what? Order. So combinations, no order. Permutations, order. What will tell you this? The question. The question will give you some kind of reference to an order, or it won't say anything about an order. If it doesn't say anything about an order, then what is it? No order. It's assumed to be no order. What else do I need to tell you? Well, Most of the time when you're talking about combinations, we're talking about these type questions. And when we're talking about these type questions, we're talking, committee. Is it two T's? And boards. And horse races. Okay? Now, first of all, somebody in here is probably saying to themselves, well, committee and board is the same thing. No, it's not. It's not the same thing. What's the difference in a committee and a board? If I want to take a stab at it, think of any boards that you know of versus a committee. Some of you may be on a committee at school. Anybody want to take a stab at it? A board has what? Starts with an O. F. Officers. A committee does not. Now, by definition, it doesn't. So if you're on a committee and it has officers, then really it's not a committee, it's a board. But, you know, some people use the term loosely. You can use whichever one you want to. Most of the time, a board is usually, it's in the real world, in other words, in the non-academic world, a board has officers, meaning that it has some type of what? Order among its members. Okay? Now, let's go to somebody look in your book. Who's got a book? Somebody got a book with them? Here's one. Turn to this section, wherever section it is. Somebody tell me what section it is. Anybody know? It's called counting. Probability counting. Somebody tell me.
What chapter it might be in? What chapter?
I don't know what chapter we're in. What chapter we're in? I get y'all mixed up between this 1 and 3. Somebody look at your outline. That's why the outline is so important. I got mine up there, but I just too lazy to go over and look at it. Somebody look at your outline and tell me what section we're supposed to be in with counting counting probability. I'm sorry. What does 5.4 say? Counting, 5.5. Yeah, I'm probably skipping a section, but we'll go back to it. 5.5. There we go. Okay, there's exactly what I need. Right there. What is that?
Permutations.
Yeah, but it's not. Permutations, okay. Permutations is page 275. Look for combinations if you would. Page 275. And what page is combinations? Probably a couple of pages before or after it. Some books do it before or after.
It's next page, 276.
277. Page 277 is your combination formula. So if you want to look at the formula, go ahead and look at the formula. There's only one difference, and that is in the denominator you have an extra R or N. I can't remember. All right, I'm not gonna go over it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to show you by hand how you actually, well, let's write one. Somebody give me the formula for combination. What is it?
N
Factorial over?
Over C. Oh, sorry, I'm R factorial,
Oh,
parentheses.
Okay, R factorial, parentheses.
N minus R, parentheses,
Okay.
factorial.
Okay, and give me the formula for this one.
N factorial over parentheses N minus R.
N minus R factorial.
Mhm.
Is that it? Okay, so there's one difference, that's all. All right, I'm going to look at this one. All right, let's say that N is, I can't remember the problem I did the other day, but N is 4, or N is, can't remember, I think it's 14. And R is 4. I think it was something like that. And plug and chug. So we got 14 factorial over r, which is 4 factorial, times, and what's 14 minus 4? 10 factorial. All right, now, if you did that in your calculator, you'd have to do memory saving and all that. That's why don't do it by hand with your calculator, okay? Because this is easier to do it by hand this way. 14 factorial is actually 14 times what? 13 times 12 times what? 10 or 11 times 10. Everybody get it? Dot, dot, dot to 1. All right? And then you got 4 factorial times 10 factorial, which is 10 times 9 times 8, dot, dot, dot to what? 1. Now, what happens to those 2 factorials? Well, this cancels with what? That right there. And you're only left with this right here. So you can take your calculator and multiply 14 times 13 times 12 times 10 and then divide it by 4 factorial, which is what, 24? So it's easier technically to do it by hand and use your calculator than it is to use your calculator to do the factorials. You see what I'm saying? Because if you do the factorials, you're going to get the VA numbers, which you either have to write down or you have to put in memory or put a bunch of parentheses around it. So it's kind of easier to do it by hand. Okay? So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to type in your calculator, type 14 MP number 3 and then 4 and then enter. Okay? And that'll give you the number there. Again, I do not do them by hand because, like I say, by hand, use your calculator, but don't do it with the calculator. You just have to sacrifice it. If you try it with the calculator, you're going to see what I'm talking about. Okay? Now, let's talk about the lottery. And I'm going to go to 2 things for the lottery because lottery questions, if you don't see it on my test, which you will, you're going to see it on the standardized test. I don't care. Isn't Westside taking some tests today? What is it? It's the ACT. Is that y'all don't take the SAT anymore, do you? You can. Both of them's a joke. But anyway, they're supposed to be able to test to see if you can pass college. Buddy, it didn't test me anything. I got 3 degrees, and it told me that I was a failure. Okay, I had to take classes to get into Clemson, but the whole point was, it didn't predict that I wouldn't graduate. So, you need to study on it because it's a pain in the butt to do, but go ahead and do it because you got to have it. But anyway, it's going to be on there. The lottery question, the board question, the horse question, those questions will be on the ACT, SAT, the GRE, the nursing praxis, whatever you're going to take in the near future. They're going to be on there. Okay, so you might want to study up on this section. All right, so let's look at, right quick, let's pull up the South Carolina Education Lottery, since we live in South Carolina. Of course, we shouldn't have had it. We had so many people telling us not to get it. You know why, don't you? Because we are dumb, ignorant Southerners, and we don't know how to manage our money. That's why. And we had people outside of South Carolina telling us we didn't need the lottery because we wouldn't be able to handle it. I remember it distinctly, but most people in South Carolina voted it in. It was like a 75% to 25%. Okay, anyway, I'm on South Carolina education. The reason I have to Google it was because, when you do a web address, you want to, get something real catchy. What does South Carolina do? It picks something real aggravating to remember. So you have to go, there we go. And let's go to the Powerball. If you won both of them, you'd be a $500 million. There we go. And how to play. So I want you to write down, and yes, I'm going to blow it up for those people fixing to say, I can't see it. I'm sitting in the back of the room. There we go. Go ahead and write just that first paragraph down. select 5 different numbers, the white balls, from 1 to 69 in the upper play, and select one power ball, the red ball, from 1 to 26. So you got 5 slots, and you got 1 slot. Now, ask yourself this: how do you win the Powerball lottery? You've got to have the 5 white balls. I want y'all to finish the sentence. You got to have the 5 white balls. Okay, I'll wait till y'all finish writing because evidently y'all can't multitask. Oh yeah, that's right. Y'all not, but it's right there. You got to have the 5 white balls and the what?
Red ball.
Notice the word and. What does and mean?
Gotta have both.
No. In probability. What does and mean? For those that watched my video. Okay. Well, y'all have to figure it out. So we're going to use the word and. So you got to have 5 balls from 1 to 69. So you know what N is. You know what R is. And you got to have 1 ball from 1 to 26. So you know what N is there and you know what R is there. Now, the good thing about the Powerball is you don't have to have what? Order. So you're going to have to use combination. Okay? All you got to write down is white, 1 to 69, 5 white balls. Red ball, 1 to 26. That's what you need to write down. All right. Now, let's go to the spreadsheet. The reason I'm going to go to the spreadsheet, there's a reason. So I'm going to go to the handy dandy spreadsheet. I could show you how to do it on a calculator, but that's not the reason I'm doing it. And we're going to go, and Bubba in South Carolina is going to play the lottery for the first time. And he's got to decide how many tickets he wants to buy. So he thinks about buying 1 ticket. Then he thinks about buying 5 tickets. Then he thinks about 10 tickets. Then he thinks about 100 tickets. Then he thinks about 1,000 tickets. Then he thinks about 10,000 tickets. Then he thinks about 100,000. Well, let's go with 50,000. Then he thinks about 100,000. Then he thinks 500,000. Then he thinks 1 million. Oops. 1 million and a slash. Is that 6 zeros because they run together after a while? Okay, and then he thinks 2 million. Then he thinks, well, maybe I'll get 5 million.
You can afford 5 million tickets because you're playing lottery.
Thank you. That's common sense. But we don't have that in South Carolina. So, you know, we spend all our paycheck because we spend all our paychecks and let the kids run around in the parking lot with the diapers on. All right? And they're starving to death. That's why people were telling us we couldn't get it. All right. And then 10 million. Go over here and we say, okay, we got to have how many? 5 balls, 5 white balls. So R is equal to 5 white balls. And what's the numbers? What were the numbers?
1 through 20.
1 to what?
69.
So that'd be 69. And then the second set, I'll put the second set, the Powerball. R is equal to 1. Hold on a second. R is equal to 1, and N is equal to, what was it, 26? So I'm going to figure my 2 combinations. So here we go. This is how you do it in the handy dandy spreadsheet. Equals come bin, parentheses, and then you type in 69.5, 69, comma 5, and then it should be 26, but I'll go ahead and do it, equals come bin, and that's how you do permute also, and that'll be 26, comma 1, which should be 26. Okay? And using what we did in the video, we take equals, well, let me go ahead and do that. Hold on just a second. Oops. Go down here. And go over here. And we're going to buy one ticket. Oops. And we're going to divide by that, F4. And we're going to make that 2 digits. Because in the real world, we go by what? 2 digits. $5.95. So we don't think past the ones place. We don't think past that. We don't think in terms of a half of a penny, unless you shop at big, what is it, Sam's Club, and then I think it goes to the thousandth. I don't know. And the gas stations sometimes do. All right, let's see. And drum roll. Let's see what the probabilities are. I can't work the little do-jigger. I suck. There we go. There was a man that taught me at Clemson. His name is Joel, J-O-E-L, Brawley. If you want to Google it, B-R-A-W-L-E-Y. Wrote a book about this. And he was famous. He went on talk shows and stuff like that. And he talked about who's the smartest gambler. And this is gambling, all right?
3% or 0.03%?
That's 0.03 probability. So it would be 3%. Yes. All right. Now, in the book, he goes through and he discusses poker, 21, roulette, the lottery, and 2 or 3 other forms of gambling. And he talks about who is the smarter gambler. All right. Now, of course, the reason, and at that time, I'll tell you a little history lesson, and this is non-politically correct history, and I'm not rewriting history. This is history the way it happens, the way it should be taught, the way it happens. And about when I was 20-ish, somewhere in there, 25-ish, somewhere in there was a big push in South Carolina to get rid of the poker machines, the quarter poker machines. They were in every convenience store. I mean, people quit selling stuff in convenience stores so they could make more room for these poker machines. They wouldn't have just 5. They would have like 15. They would put walls with a door so they could put more poker machines in one building. I mean, it was going crazy. And people were playing these things like crazy. It was like crack cocaine for gambling in South Carolina because we had never had gambling. And people went freaking crazy. All right? So, here comes lottery. We just had got rid of the poker machines, and everybody was mad because they wanted to play the poker machine. And then here comes the lottery. Well, the rest of the nation all was looking out for us in South Carolina because we went crazy over the poker machines, and we're, dumb and ignorant down here, and we don't know how to control our money. So there was a nationwide push there were people coming in from other states talking about how the lottery destroyed their family and destroyed their state and all this stuff. And, well, it didn't work because South Carolina voted it in, 3-1. So the whole point was, this is why. They thought that every bubba in South Carolina was going to go out and spend their what? Their paycheck on the lottery. But as you can see, the smarter ticket buyer is the one that buys what? 1 ticket. Well, there's the argument. Well, you shouldn't buy any tickets. Well, that's your choice. But you can't win if you don't what? If you don't play. So that's there's a fine line between recreation and going crazy, all right? Just like there's a fine line between social drinking and being out. There's a fine line between taking prescription drugs and buying illegal drugs, okay? The whole point is, in gambling, there's a fine line between recreation and being a gambler. And that's what he also talks about in his book. I don't forget the name of the book, but it talks about who is the smartest. So who is the smartest person? The guy that buys one ticket, or the guy that buys, is that $1 million I got down there? $1 million. 10 million. Okay, okay. So, okay, I meant $1 million. Who's the smarter guy, or woman, or person? Okay? The person that buys one ticket. Now, you can carry this out to the 15th digit, and you will see a little bit of an increase around digit number 10 or number 8. But who thinks in terms of 8 digits? 8 decimal points? Nobody. Okay? So, when you buy, and that's why people, have you ever been given a lottery ticket for a present? Some people do that. Some people would give a birthday present and give you a lottery ticket. That's the fun in it. Okay, it's fun. And if you win money, it's your money. Okay? That's, people do that. Now, I'm not endorsing it, I'm just explaining it. Okay? So that's the type of question you will see on a standardized test or one of my tests. Now, there's one more thing you've got to realize, and this is what's going to trip you up on these questions. Some of them doesn't ask you what is the probability of winning. Some of them ask you just what is the probability. What's the difference? Anybody want to take a guess at it? Or y'all just don't want to talk to me this morning? Which one is it? I won't give y'all any more days off. Y'all not going to talk to me.
What's the question?
got one more. Whoa, what's the question? I said, there's a difference between the questions in the homework and the test. There's one question that says, what is the probability of winning? The other question says, what is the probability? What's the difference between the two? Remember, I told you, probability and statistics is not math. It's understanding the question. What is the meaning of the word is? Why would there be a difference between the probability and the probability of winning? The probability is just that big BA number there, that 292 million. But the probability of winning is assuming that you're going to buy what? One what? Ticket, and then you have to put it 1 over 292 million. So you need to make a note of that, all right? Because there are some of these questions that'll get you. And the reason they're going to get you is it's going to say the probability of winning is equal to assuming you are buying one ticket. Therefore, 1 over 292 million. Okay? Now, if they just ask what is the probability, then you just say 292 million. You see what I'm saying? You don't put the 1 there because the 1 is saying that you bought a ticket. Does everybody see that? You'll see the difference in the questions. Now, some questions are assuming that you're buying one ticket. And that's where I disagree with the book. And the 103 book does the same thing the 120 book does. Some of the questions they ask, they're not very clear on what they want. I'm very lenient on some of these questions. I said some. Now, what if you have a question that says, what is the probability of winning this lottery? Then they are asking you to put that 1 in there, 1 over 292 million. If it says what is the probability of winning, then yes, it's telling you the 1 over 292 million, and that's what I did in that second column, that B column. That's where you got the zeros from. Okay, you can carry that out to 10 digits, and I'll do that for you, just so you can see it. And match it up with, try 3 of them in your calculator and see if you come up with the same thing. Hold on a second. Oh, where's Pucky? There's the difference. Now, take one or two of those numbers and punch it in your calculator and see if you come up with the same number. If you're not, you're going to come up with scientific notation. Now, I'm not going to review scientific notation with y'all. Y'all should know how to do scientific notation in your calculator. Now, I will show you on your calculator, you should have second and then enter down here at the bottom if you want to change scientific notation into a decimal. Some of you may have a little squiggly, the approximate equal sign above your, or you may have just solve. That means that you want to turn that scientific notation into a decimal. So try that on your calculator also. Go ahead and type in 1 divided by 292 million, see if it gives you a decimal or scientific notation. If it gives you scientific notation, you're going to have an E in there. Then hit second, and then go down there and hit enter, and it should give you a decimal. If it doesn't, then you need to switch your calculator around or something. Some of y'all have these newfangled calculators. It's like a computer, and you have to go through and change some stuff. But it should give you that number that I've got right here. Now, Excel spreadsheet, you can go 20, 25, this is 30 digits. Your calculator will only go to what? 10? So you got to take that into effect. But make sure you can go between scientific notation and a decimal by hitting that second function. Capiche? All right, now I want you to do the mega million. Oh, we got to go through and see. What do we get? 1 over 292 million? Let's see what the lottery odds are on the South Carolina lottery. Let's see, where are the odds? 292 million. Dadgum, pretty good for dumb, ignorant Southerner, isn't it? Figure those dadgum probability. All right, so now y'all try the mega million. It should be right there. Now, I do want to reiterate that this is not the opinion of Tri-County Tech or Hubert McClure. I'm just going over lottery questions because you will see them on test. Okay? So before anybody goes to my department heads and says that I'm trying to get y'all to go out and buy lottery tickets, I'm not. It's just fact. That's how they teach combinations in the book. I saw that. I see y'all. Two more times you gotta leave. I need to get more sleep. Tell my son that. Right before I give him Jack Daniels. He won't go to sleep, I give him a shot of Jack Daniels. I'm kidding, okay? It's a joke. Humor gets his son alcohol. Oh, God, people get a sense of humor. That's a problem with our. What? Give you a shot?
Yeah.
Rock and ride. People have to. Yeah. Well, now you know how to do it now. We did it with my kids. Benadryl. Benadryl cocktail. That sucker about to go two shots. They'd be out. My kids never had drainage ear problems. Man, they were high on Benadryl all the time. They never did have an issue with their sinuses or, you know how babies have ear problems? Oh, no, not mine. No. They had 2 shots of Benadryl every night. All right, see what you can come up with. See if you can get the If you can't, then either you haven't watched the video from the other day, or you didn't listen to a word I said on the Powerball. One of the two. Now, what's good about a spreadsheet is you can fix a spreadsheet to be generic with all the lottery questions. So all you got to type in is N and what? R. So you go to your handy dandy spreadsheet. Y'all gonna have to tell me because I'm not reading that. Y'all just have to tell me what the numbers are. So go to your handy dandy spreadsheet and somebody tell me what the big R is. How many are big N? What is the N? 70. And what is it 5? Yes or no? Okay. Because y'all can't say words very good. Y'all have to say yes so I can hear you. All right. How many numbers on the mega ball? How many? 25. And there is the probability right there. And the probability of winning, assuming one ticket, is right there. 1 over, it's about the same, isn't it?
No, I think the 20.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Equals, let me do that again. Hold on. Let me make sure. Combin, yeah, it didn't pick up. Oh, I typed them in, that's why. Hold on, let me fix that. There. And there. There. And let me fix this one. I didn't fix it with sales, that's why. There. And there. The Excel people know what I'm doing. There we go. How about that? That's better. Now let's look at Bubba and see what he's doing. Well, it's still 0%. Up to $1 million. But if you've got $1 million in the bank, you don't need to be playing the lottery, or you're just playing it for the heck of it. So I buy 5 tickets usually, like by the week, weekly, whatever you call it. And I talked to the guy in there about the probability, and he says one guy comes in there and buys 500 tickets every week.
How much a lottery
$2 a piece. It's $1,000 a pop, and he does it both for the Powerball and the Mega Million. And I win more than he does. That's what the guy at the cash register said. And I only win $4 every time. He says he don't win anything. That goes to prove the one ticket. I buy 5 tickets. The reason I buy 5 tickets is $2. I mean $10. That's why it's even $20 for both of them. And I buy it once a week. I don't get it when it's 20 million. Now, when it gets over 50 million, that's when I start thinking about it, because I just, it's kind of like the mindset, somebody's going to win that money and I at least have a shot at it. You know, one ticket, I have a shot at it. That's the fun part. But when you go buy 500 tickets, you got issues, because you got the same, we didn't put 500 in here, but we can. Oh boy, that really improved your chances, didn't it? So we got 300 and what? I didn't see it. 302 million. Y'all check. Is that? I can't see. Is that? I guess that's 303 million. So let's go back to our handy dandy Powerball Mega Million and go to odds. And Mega Million is 302 million. It's a miracle. So you need to know how to do that question, period. Now let's talk about the board. So let me get rid of this, and let's go to the board question. And it's real simple. All of them are going to be written the same way with the board and the committee. They're usually the same question. They have one part A and a part B. There are 25 members of an improvement group for the city. I'm just making this up, okay? They want to create a board for communication with county council. I'm just making this up, so I don't know how to spell council. Is that right? A, how many boards can be created with president, vice president, secretary, and what? Treasurer. Is that the norm? Yes. That is the norm. Now you might drop off the treasurer because a lot of people don't want to deal with what? Money when it comes to a board. Because they say in politics, if you retire in politics wealthy, you're a crook. Because you're not supposed to be paid anything. All right? Not supposed to. Look at our Congress. I ain't gonna say nothing. Shut up. B, you should do a committee. They want to have a properties committee. They want to form a properties committee. Like to look over their parts of the city that they're in charge of or whatever. Properties committee. What about the properties committee? How many different committees can be made? Well, the board is permutations. The committee is what? Combination. Is N and R the same numbers? Yes. So run them through. Use your calculator. The first one is going to be NPR, which will be 25P4. And this will be 25C4. So run it through your calculator. And see what you come up with. If you can't do it, just write it up as what? Failure. And you got to make sure you get that leaded Benadryl too. They make Benadryl that's non-drowsy. Don't get that. That ain't worth anything. You got to get the good stuff. I just thought about that for you in the future that's going to have kids. You got to get that leaded stuff. That comes in a blue bottle with an orange dilithium or something like that. That's good stuff too. Use that too. I've actually seen that stuff work when you get sick. I mean, when you got your kids with that seal bark. You ever had that before? You sound like a seal. That dilithium or whatever it's called, it works. It's got a blue bottle with an orange. I can't pronounce it, but I'll shut up. All right, 25 permutation 4. What do you come up with? I heard 303 what? 303,600. Now a lot of you say that ain't right. You can't think about it. There's 25 people in this group. Let's say class right here. There's 25, you got to think quantum mechanics here, different realities. There's 25 board creations that you are the what? President. You are the president. 25 different board arrangements. There's 25 different board arrangements where you are the what? Vice president. There's 25 different that you are the, and so that's 100 right there. That's 100 just for this person. And then you go through all the different realities. Okay? So you have to think out of the box on this one. On the permutations, you have to think out of the box. You can't think, okay, different arrangements, da da da. That's the next one. And of course, it's probably going to be a whole lot less. So what is the combinations? 25 combination 4. What does it come out to be? Say one more time. I've heard 12,650. Is that correct? You did good on enunciation, but you sucked at volume, whoever that was. Okay? So you need to kind of up the volume a little bit. I heard 12,000. That's what I heard. All right. So now, what do you know now? You know 4 things in probability. Because I have no idea what the outline covers, but 5 things really. We've covered 5 things. We've covered 1, correlation. Causality. Slope. And regression. Okay, we've covered that. That's one thing. The second thing we covered was probability. Basic probability. What is the probability of pulling a king out of a deck of cards? That's 4 out of what? 52. That's when we did the die and the cards. Second thing. Third thing. We learned the multiplicative rule and the additive rule via the video that I created the other day. And today we learned about factorial and exponential counting. All right, I think there's one more section that I haven't covered. I'll have to go through and look at the outline. So that means that Thursday we'll probably be finishing up this unit, which means that the next week, that next Tuesday probably, will be homework questions and review, which means that week is probably going to be the posting of what? Which means that will be the termination of the what? Homework. So some of y'all with a calendar need to mark next week as, okay, I better get my stuff together. All right? So you need to, so soon you procrastinator. So it looks like to me that next Tuesday, right down next Tuesday, will be our homework questions. That's when I go over all the homework questions and the video. Okay? I'm not the video. Pull up the test. Any questions for me? I have no idea what time it is, but if I'm letting y'all out early, so be it, because I want to make sure y'all understand these 4 things before we do